Hey guys, thank you for watching the Slat Rock channel. You know, wrestling feuds can make a match mean so much more than a typical match. Whether a wrestler is avenging an injury or seeking to regain a title won by nefarious means, feuds can make for some of wrestling's greatest moments. And then there are these 13 of the worst reasons wrestlers started a feud. Number 13. So you think you can dance, the early years. Das Wunderkind Alex Wright and Disco Inferno were two men bound to meet up sooner or later, with Wright boasting dance moves that could have lit up any techno club in Europe or America, and Disco Inferno reviving the disco goodness of the late 1970s with moves that would have made John Travolta green with envy. Fans knew there could only be one dancing king in WCW. Predating the film You Got Served by several years, Wright and Disco battled for dance supremacy, ultimately joining forces as the Dancing Fools. Perhaps inspired by Gymkata, the film that explored the thrill of gymnastics with the kill of karate, the Dancing Fools combined the thunder of techno with the rhythm of disco. And like Gymkata, the Dancing Fools faded into obscurity save for a cult following. Number 12. Jean-Pierre Lafitte steals Bret Hart's ring jacket. That amazing French-Canadian Jean-Pierre Lafitte was an underrated star in the WWF whose singles career was eventually ended thanks to political maneuvering by the Clique. Before that, Lafitte worked a well-received series with Bret the Hitman Hart, including a phenomenal match at In Your House 3. The basis for this feud, though, was suspect. Here, Lafitte stole Hart's custom-made ring jacket, infuriating the Hitman. Given Lafitte's gimmick at the time was that of a descendant of pirate Jean Lafitte, it probably made sense to Vince McMahon that Lafitte would go around stealing wrestlers' wardrobes. Number 11. Can you hear me now? Kevin Nash gets mad Triple H isn't returning his calls. In today's era of instant communication, there's no reason a person shouldn't answer a call, text, or email with some sort of response unless they're trying to duck you. In 2011, Kevin Nash showed up at SummerSlam laying out CM Punk after Punk's win over John Cena for the WWE Championship and allowing Alberto Del Rio to cash in his Money in the Bank contract and win the belt. Nash claimed Triple H texted him to lay out Punk, but eventually it was revealed that this was a ploy by Nash to make Helmsley look bad. Why would Nash want to hurt his good buddy Hunter, you ask? Apparently, Triple H wasn't returning Kevin Nash's phone calls, angering Big Sexy. A better question would be, how did Nash manage to wrestle more than one match without blowing out a quad? Call us if you have the answer, but don't expect a return call if you're Kevin Nash. Number 10. Tyson Kidd steals Yoshitatsu's action figure. By 2011, wrestlers' thefts had been reduced to stealing action figures, making fans wonder just how petty wrestlers could be. Tyson Kidd apparently was overwhelmed by greed when he saw Yoshitatsu's action figure, attempting to take it for himself. Instead, Kidd broke a leg off of the action figure and Tatsu battled him for it on NXT. While the matches between the two were captivating, the premise for the feud was insulting to the fans. The program led to a necklace on a pole match where the two men battled to see who could retrieve the action figure's leg attached to a chain necklace from the pole. A triumphant Tatsu took the leg, reattaching it to the figure. The match ended in tragedy when Kidd ambushed Tatsu, leaving him beaten after a brutal post-match attack. Number 9. Al Snow eats his dog. The Big Boss Man is no stranger to disgusting angles. Remember the time that he interrupted the funeral of the Big Show's father, dragging the coffin away? That was the epitome of class compared to this angle, where the Big Boss Man kidnapped Al Snow's pet dog Pepper, capitalizing on the popular Chihuahua dog in Taco Bell commercials at the time, on the August 23rd, 1999 edition of Raw. Stealing wrestlers' pets has a rich pedigree, no pun intended. Remember the time the Islanders dog-napped the British Bulldog's pet pooch Matilda? Being the Attitude Era, things were a lot darker. The Boss Man promised to return Pepper if Snow granted him a hardcore title shot. On the premiere episode of SmackDown, Boss Man defeated Snow but reneged on his promise. Finally, the Boss Man agreed to give Pepper back if Snow met him for dinner. Unbeknownst to Snow, his dinner was his doggy. According to a 2008 interview with Snow on In Your Head Radio, the angle was based on a real-life incident where Mr. Fuji killed a neighbor's dog and fed it to the owner. The results of the doggy dinner would lead to a Pepper on a pole match on the September 19, 1999 Sunday Night Heat and the travesty known as the Kennel from Hell match at 1999's Unforgiven pay-per-view. Number 8. Chris Jericho spills his coffee on Cain. A hot coffee spill once led to a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against McDonald's restaurant, but in the WWF, it led to a wrestling feud. In 2000, the WWF decided to launch a feud between the Big Red Machine Cain and rising star Chris Jericho, having Y2J spill hot coffee on Cain backstage. Cain, who in storyline was a former burn victim, was none too happy with Jericho's carelessness. After all, Jericho should have at least had a lid on the styrofoam cup. Whether it was the lack of Clarence Mason in this angle or a clash of two different styles, the Superstars matches didn't set the wrestling world on fire. Sorry about the pun. The only role coffee should have had in this program was to help fans stay awake during the two wrestlers' matches. Number 7. Unico's invitation to Ted DiBiase Juniors' party gets lost in the mail. Although 2012 didn't mark the end of the world as predicted by the Mayan calendar, it did mark the beginning of the end of Ted DiBiase Jr.'s WWE career. In 2012, DiBiase changed his gimmick from that of an obnoxious zillionaire to that of a party host, entertaining fans, his DiBiase posse, at tailgate parties before WWE events. Unico took offense when he wasn't invited, launching a feud with DiBiase that surprisingly didn't involve any stipulations where Unico would be invited to join the DiBiase posse should he win. Number 6. Harlem Heat 2000 prevent Booker from using his T. It's wrestling convention that tag teams usually break up under bad circumstances. Close friends the Rockers ended on bad terms, as did the Rock and Roll Express. Such was the case when real-life brothers Harlem Heat split up, and WWF superstar Ahmed Johnson, now calling himself Big T and sporting so much weight that fans wondered if T stood for ton, aligned with Stevie Ray, forming Harlem Heat 2000. Big T claimed there was only room for one T in wrestling and demanded Booker T stop using the T. WCW even brought in real-life lawyer Herman Stevens, who performed as kayfabe attorney Clarence Mason in the WWF and Jay Biggs in WCW, to add what they felt might add an air of legitimacy to this angle. Despite the lack of any legal basis for such a claim, the two battled at Super Brawl 2000 to see who would win the rights, with Big T winning after the lights went out and someone attacked Booker T. Booker T then became Booker, but transformed into G.I. Bro during the New Blood angle. This angle was brought to you by the letter T for terrible. Number 5. Dawn Marie marries Al Wilson. Al Wilson fulfilled the dream of red-blooded senior citizens everywhere when he began dating and eventually marrying WWE vixen Dawn Marie. Where things get disgusting is that Dawn Marie was feuding with Al's daughter Tori Wilson and using poor Al to get back at Tori. Dawn told Tori she would call off the wedding if Tori agreed to sleep with her. After Tori agreed, Dawn Marie continued the wedding anyways. On January 2nd, 2003, Al and Dawn were married on SmackDown in their underwear. Poor Al discovered the perils of May-December romances when his wedding night led to an untimely demise after too much sex. In true wrestling fashion, Mr. Wilson's funeral turned into a Pier 6 brawl, arguably the least disgusting part of the angle. Number 4. DDP stalks the Undertaker's wife. The 2001 Invasion angle was rightly criticized for the lack of star power on WCW's side. Names like Ric Flair, Goldberg, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan, and Scott Steiner were absent because the WWF refused to buy out their contracts. However, main event star Diamond Dallas Page agreed to come to the WWF instead of sitting at home collecting a big paycheck. So how did the WWF use Page? As a main eventer laying out top WWF stars with a diamond cutter? Putting his skills to use in championship matches? No, the WWF decided Page was best utilized as a creepy stalker for The Undertaker's wife at the time, Sarah. Longtime fans will recall how Taker had her name tattooed on his throat. Given that Page was banging uber-hot wife Kimberly, who led the Nitro Girls at one time, it's hard to believe Page would go from sugar to shit by stalking the less than attractive wife of the WWF's top dog. The feud was terrible as Page played human punching bag to Taker, making him look like a jobber to the stars with a bad case of hepatitis C. Any main event value Page had flew out the window with this debacle. Number 3. Chris Jericho versus Dean Ambrose for the sake of a talk show. In April 2016, Ambrose began a rivalry with Chris Jericho after Shane McMahon canceled the highlight reel and replaced it with the Ambrose Asylum. This resulted in a match at Payback where Ambrose would defeat Jericho. The following night on Raw, Ambrose invited Stephanie McMahon on the Ambrose Asylum and confronted her about being insincere with her recent nice demeanor, and rather than Stephanie give an answer, she canceled Ambrose's show and reinstated Jericho's highlight reel. During this segment, both men attacked each other, ending with Jericho smashing Ambrose's potted plant Mitch over his head and continuing their feud. After Ambrose destroyed Jericho's light-up jacket and Jericho put Ambrose in a straitjacket, he challenged Jericho to an asylum match, a steel cage match with weapons hanging above the cage and a stipulation where escape from the cage was not allowed or would not allow for victory at Extreme Rules, where Ambrose won when performing dirty deeds on Jericho after slamming him onto a bed of thumbtacks. Number 2. That baby don't look like me. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio battle for custody of Dominic Mysterio. In 2005, the WWE went with the bizarre storyline of Eddie Guerrero threatening to reveal a secret about Rey Mysterio and Rey's son Dominic. Guerrero met Rey Mysterio at the Great American Bash with the stipulation he'd keep the secret to himself if Rey beat him. After Mysterio defeated Latino Heat, an angry Guerrero, who had recently turned heel by attacking his longtime friend Rey, revealed the secret anyways. The secret? Dominic was Eddie's son. The storyline revealed Rey and his wife adopted Eddie's love child when the couple had trouble conceiving a baby. However, Eddie now wanted his kid back. Being wrestling, the only way to settle things was in the ring, so Rey and Eddie engaged in a series of bouts, culminating in a ladder match with a briefcase containing custody papers suspended above the ring. While silly, you have to give Rey and Eddie credit for avoiding the cost of a lengthy custody battle by instead settling matters in the ring and collecting a pay-per-view bonus. Number 1. Booker T and Edge collide over a shampoo commercial. Wrestlers know that Hollywood careers can prove more lucrative than the WWE. Of course, for every Rock who made it big, there are Bill Goldbergs who end up making garbage like Santa's sleigh. Still, you can't blame WWE superstars for giving things a try, and you never know what small role could lead to success as a leading man. Maybe that's why Booker T and Edge battled over a shampoo commercial at the Showcase of the Immortals. WrestleMania 18 saw Edge and Booker T battling to see who would land a deal in a Japanese commercial for shampoo. Edge would win the bout, but the true winners, of course, were the owners of the shampoo, as Edge's luscious locks undoubtedly put lots of shampoo bottles in customers' hands. That is, they would have if the commercial wasn't fictitious. As you can see, not every feud has started with an exciting premise. Are there any feuds that started off on the wrong foot that we missed? Be sure to leave your comments and like our video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos just like this one, and hit the bell icon to get notified every time we post a new video. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and as always, thanks for watching.